Have you ever wondered what drives a man to defy kings and confront an entire empire? Why did Isaiah, a prophet whose words still echo today, become such a great threat to King Manasseh and his own people? Let's explore the life and legacy of Isaiah, one of the most influential prophets of the Old Testament, and discover how his actions shaped the destiny of a nation. Prepare yourself for a journey of courage and faith in times of adversity. To understand the trajectory of the prophet Isaiah, we need to go back in time to the 8th century before Christ, in the ancient kingdom of Judah. Jerusalem, the capital of Judah, was a vital political and religious center, but also a stage of constant tension and challenges. The world was rapidly changing, and the kingdoms of the region faced the growing threat of the Assyrian Empire, a military and cultural power that was relentlessly expanding its dominion. Isaiah was born around 765 before Christ and grew up in a time when Judah was experiencing both prosperity and imminent danger. During his life, he witnessed the rule of several kings, starting with Uzziah, a monarch who initially did what was right in the eyes of God, but eventually strayed due to pride. After Uzziah, his son Jotham continued to rule justly, but failed to completely remove the high places, sites of pagan worship, which were a spiritual thorn in Judah's side. This mixture of partial faithfulness to God and compromises with idolatrous practices set the stage for the spiritual challenges Isaiah would face in his ministry. During the reign of Ahaz, Jotham's son, the spiritual and political situation worsened. Ahaz not only allowed but encouraged idolatry in Judah, even sacrificing his own son in pagan fires, 2 Kings 16 verse 3. He also made alliances with Assyria to protect himself from hostile neighbors, bringing greater foreign influence and idolatry into Judah. It was in this context of spiritual decline that Isaiah began to prophesy. He saw how far Judah had strayed from God and understood the devastating impact of reckless political alliances. His message was clear: return to God and seek justice and righteousness. Isaiah denounced the corruption and idolatry of the people, calling for repentance and spiritual renewal. King Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, brought a period of religious reform. He restored the temple and brought the people back to the worship of God, which Isaiah enthusiastically supported. However, even during this period of renewal, external threats did not diminish. Assyria, under the command of Sennacherib, invaded Judah, and Hezekiah had to rely on Isaiah's guidance to seek God's help, resulting in a miracle that saved Jerusalem. However, after Hezekiah's death, Manasseh's reign marked one of the darkest periods in Judah. Manasseh reversed his father's reforms, reintroducing idolatrous practices and promoting the worship of pagan gods. The moral and spiritual decay of Judah reached an alarming level, and Isaiah, who continued to be a prophetic voice, now faced growing hostility from both the government and the people. This backdrop of corruption and spiritual decline, combined with external pressure from the Assyrian Empire, created an environment where Isaiah's messages were not only ignored, but actively opposed. Isaiah became a target, as his warnings were seen as a threat to the kingdom's stability under Manasseh. This historical context is crucial to understanding Isaiah's courage in remaining faithful to his divine mission, even in the face of persecution and eventual martyrdom. His influence spanned several generations, and his impact endured throughout his ministry. Isaiah was one of the most influential prophets of the Old Testament, known for his profound spiritual insight and piercing messages of warning and hope. His ministry began around 740 before Christ, during the reign of King Uzziah, and extended through the reigns of Jotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, and finally Manasseh. Isaiah was called by God at a critical moment when Judah faced internal challenges of moral corruption and external threats of military aggression. From the beginning, Isaiah had a clear vision of the role God had appointed him. In Isaiah 6, verses 1 through 8, we find Isaiah's powerful vision in the temple, where he witnesses God's glory and receives his prophetic calling. In this encounter, he is purified and commissioned to speak on God's behalf to a people who often did not want to listen. This vision sets the tone for his ministry, confronting apostasy and calling the people back to a right relationship with God. Isaiah was known for his unwavering commitment to social and spiritual justice. He stood against the injustices committed by Judah's leaders and elites, denouncing the oppression of the poor, corruption in the judicial system, and religious hypocrisy. In Isaiah 1 verse 17, he calls for justice. Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. One of the most remarkable aspects of Isaiah's ministry was his ability to foresee future events. He not only spoke about the immediate situation in Judah, but also delivered messianic prophecies, pointing to a future righteous king who would bring peace and salvation. These passages are often cited in the New Testament as prophecies fulfilled in the life and work of Jesus Christ. Despite his tireless work, Isaiah frequently faced resistance from the people and authorities. He knew that his message would often fall on deaf ears, but he persevered in his role as a prophet. Isaiah 6 verses 9 and 10 describe the difficult task of preaching to a people with hardened hearts and deaf ears, but Isaiah accepted this mission with determination. The impact of Isaiah's ministry was profound and lasting. He not only served as a herald of God in times of crisis, but also left a written legacy that continued to inspire generations. His writings were preserved and studied, both in his time and later, influencing not only Judaism, but also Christianity. In summary, Isaiah's ministry was characterized by his courage, prophetic vision, and commitment to truth and justice. He challenged corrupt leaders, comforted the afflicted, and announced a future of hope, pointing to a time when peace and justice would reign. Isaiah's greatest challenge came with the reign of Manasseh, son of Hezekiah. Manasseh ruled from approximately 687 before Christ to 642 before Christ, and was one of the most idolatrous and corrupt kings in the history of Judah. He reversed his father's reforms and restored pagan altars, reintroducing the worship of foreign gods and abominable practices like child sacrifice. Isaiah became a fierce critic of Manasseh, condemning his practices and alliances with pagan nations. He denounced the king for leading the people of Judah into apostasy and warned of the terrible spiritual and social consequences these decisions would bring. Isaiah argued that Judah's true security did not come from political alliances, but from faithfulness to God. Isaiah's opposition to Manasseh's policies came at a high price. According to tradition, Manasseh saw Isaiah's prophecies as a threat to his rule and decided to silence him. Isaiah was accused of blasphemy for comparisons made between Jerusalem and Sodom, and his criticism of the government was used as justification for his execution. According to Jewish tradition, recorded in texts like the Ascension of Isaiah and mentioned in Hebrews 11 verse 37, Isaiah was sawed in half, becoming a martyr for his faith and integrity. This brutal act of execution symbolizes Isaiah's resistance to spiritual and political compromise and his willingness to die for his convictions. Isaiah's conflict with the established powers left a lasting legacy. He demonstrated that true spiritual leadership requires the courage to confront injustice and corruption, even at the risk of retaliation. His life serves as a powerful testimony to the importance of maintaining faithfulness to God in the face of political and social opposition. Isaiah not only confronted the kings of his time, but also challenged the entire nation to reevaluate their priorities and return to God. His example continues to inspire those who fight for truth and justice, reminding us that integrity often requires personal sacrifices, but also offers eternal rewards. Isaiah not only influenced his contemporaries, but also future generations. His messianic prophecies, such as those about the birth and suffering of the Messiah, resonated through the centuries, finding fulfillment in the life and mission of Jesus Christ. Isaiah's legacy lives on in the texts he left behind and in the inspiration he provides to those who seek justice and truth. His life and death are powerful reminders that the voice of truth cannot be silenced, even when faced with persecution and martyrdom. Isaiah is a symbol of courage and dedication, and his story continues to be told as an example of unwavering faith in the face of oppression. He reminds us that, although we may face intense challenges, Truth and justice are values worth fighting for, no matter the personal cost. Isaiah's story leaves us with profound lessons about courage and faith in the face of adversity. Even amidst persecution and the threat of death, Isaiah stood firm in his mission, fully trusting in God. His life and death challenge us to consider the cost of faith and the importance of remaining true to our principles, even when confronted by opposing forces. Isaiah left us a legacy of hope and prophecy that continues to inspire generations. As Jesus lamented in Matthew 23, verse 37, Jerusalem was always quick to reject its prophets, but Isaiah reminds us that divine truth prevails no matter how difficult the circumstances. We hope this story inspires you to reflect on the role of faith in your own life. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content. If you were inspired by the courage and unwavering faith of the prophet Isaiah, you'll want to learn more about another great leader of Israel, Moses. There's an intriguing mystery about him that few people know. Why was Moses' body never found? Discover the true story behind this biblical enigma and the lessons we can learn from the life of this great prophet. Click on the video beside you to continue your journey of biblical discoveries with us.